You feel that? That's your family. That's your blood. Sometimes you be in trouble, they might be around to help you. Tell your mama to tell you about that piano.
I need that BlackTree TV. I need that BlackTree TV. BlackTree TV.
I'm here with Spellhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a family affair. First, we got the Spellhouse family, like say here leading the cast, and then the family behind the product. And I gotta ask you, JD, like dealing with your brother as a director, did you deal with?
You don't have to say it like it's not dealing with. No, it was
I'm saying like,
yeah, no, I got you.
Did you break any mold of what it normally is to work on a project? Did you treat him any different as a director? Just because of because of that.
Yeah, I didn't. I put it this way. I didn't look at it as working with my brother. I was working with a director that I truly admire. A director that I was waiting. You know, like an artist, we wait on the next album, wait on the next one. I was waiting on his feature, and he chose this one. And I'm like, yes, here. I would like to do that. I would like to go on this journey with you. And he handled it so well. I mean, exceeded expectations. And I had high expectations because I know what he's capable of. So it was an extraordinary, unforgettable experience.
Mama Ola polished this piano with her tears for 17 years. For 17 years, she rubbed on it till her hands bled. Then she rubbed the blood in, mixed it with the rest of the blood on it. Every day God breathed life into her body. She rubbed and cleaned and polished and prayed over. Play something for me, Berniece. Play something for me, Berniece. Play something for me, Berniece. Every day. I cleaned it up for you. Play something for me, Berniece. You always talking about your daddy, but you don't never stop to look at what his foolishness cost your mama. 17 years worth of cold nights and an empty bed for what? For a piano? For a piece of wood? To get even with somebody?
As your family has been like taking care of this August Wilson catalog of products. I've loved Fences, I love Ma Rainey's, but this definitely seemed the most cinematic, and probably the biggest part of that was Sutter's Ghost, in which you guys played a big part in that scene. I want to know collectively as a Black people, how do we exercise Sutter's Ghost? The vestiges of slavery and everything else.
Yes, sir.
What do you think we as
sir.
a people can do to exercise that?
Yes, sir. Before you give great words of education and stuff, like, let me just say that I'm gonna say what we're doing right now. The artistry, whether it's poetry, whether it's literature, whether it's acting, directing, playing music, athletes expressing themselves on the field and on the court. I think those are ways that we can do it, that we can exercise those demons, that we can reclaim, our power and our station in America and in how we're seen. I think that's what we see Boy Willie trying to do. He's trying to achieve that. That's what purchasing the land is through his craft. He says it like, oh, I got these big old hands. He's saying that I got a craft, a trade that was taught to me by my father. So I think about that a lot, and I think that's a nice way in to own who we are and be confident in that.
That's so much, right? It's a heavy, weighty, ongoing investigation. But I think the film, the play, in every iteration is encouraging us to confront the ghosts. Sutter is not the only ghost or haint or apparition. As much as there are ancestors who seek to support us, there are ancestors who are challenged, right? Well, every ancestor isn't a productive ancestor, right? I mean, in our legacies are ancestors that we perhaps would not have preferred to be our ancestor. And Sutter is that and yet exists alongside those ancestors who want to inform and imbue us with knowledge, be it spiritual or otherwise energies, to be our better selves. And with that confrontation, with that confronting of history, you have to connect to the least of us. When you are most without. I think there's a discussion about capitalism that's happening and wanting to take the piano and to actualize it into land, into something that can be fruitful. But Berniece does say money can't buy what that piano cost. And so I think separating ourselves from this idea that money will be the end all be all of our greater manifestation of ourselves is something critical, because everyone has to come along if there is to be any kind of upliftment.
Right.
He's not just talking about money though, right? He's talking about he's leaving a mark, and in the world, something that like now he has something to live for. Now he can leave his mark on the world, and I think a lot of times in that search, like that's at least particularly for me, like that's what movies and plays represent. Is being able to say I was a part of something and I was able to help maybe move somebody that actually makes change in the world, whether it politically or religiously, whatever. You know what I mean? Like if I can motivate or inspire somebody in that way, that's the mark. And I think that was something so relatable for me with Boy Willie. And what was interesting is his relationship to death, and how not just literally how it's around the corner all the time in Mississippi, but I think in self, and like if he doesn't have a purpose, if he doesn't serve a purpose in life, then he might as well be dead, and I think that's something that was very important to him, which I really connected to.
And that's important because death is change.
Mm-hmm.
Death isn't the end. It's very clear in this examination that we have people beyond the plane, that things continue. The cycle is it's a life-death-life cycle, not life-death. Getting out of the binary is what we're really getting to. Not that money can't do it and this can't do it. It's open up the third way between us or amongst us.
Wow. This is such a great conversation. I felt like this was just something on the yard. Somebody from both sides.
This is the most respectful we've been to each other today.
That's all, yeah. Starts with the, yeah.
Well, thank you, man. Can't wait to see y'all do whatever y'all do.
Thank you.
You feel that? That's your family. That's your blood.
BlackTree TV.
Jamaal Finkley, BlackTree TV.
BlackTree?
BlackTree.
Hey. Okay, all right.
Yeah, gentlemen doing like, I'm gonna start off with a question that it came right into my head as I was watching the film, and I was wondering, as a collective black family, do we have our own Sutter's goals, and if so, how do we exercise it?
Ooh, that's a big one. Well, and in our family, ghosts are real. We actually believe in them, and usually they went to the mother of the church and they just start praying. So, what is that scene from Irma P. Hall, Beloved?
Oh.
That whole thing when the women from the church come and they try to exorcise the ghosts out of the house.
I rebuked that movie because Oprah wouldn't hire me.
She wouldn't hire you. Well, you didn't miss it. You didn't miss it. But that's one way of doing it. I mean, that practical way. The way, I guess,
it all depends
therapy.
and it all depends on what you're talking about, because there's a Sutter's ghost in the air.
Mm-hmm.
the world we live in, or in the U.S. in terms of who we are, in terms of who the powers that be are, that try and keep us in a particular place and do specific things to make sure we don't get out of that place. So yeah, we're constantly fighting, Sutter's ghost or an exorcism or an iteration of it.
Yeah.
Hey, Berniece, what's wrong?
She said she seen Sutter's ghost.
See what? She ain't seen no Sutter.
Boy, he was standing right there.
That's all in Bernice's head. Ain't nobody up there. Go on up there, Doka.
I take your word for it, but he's talking about what she seen. And she said Sutter's ghost standing in the hall. She ain't just made that up.
She up there dreaming. She ain't seen no ghost.
Want a glass of water, Berniece? Get a glass of water for her, Willie.
She don't need no water. She ain't seen nothing. Go on up there and look. Ain't nobody up there but Maritha.
Let Bernice tell it.
Well, I ain't stopping her from telling it.
Go on, Bernice.
I come out my room to come back down here, and Sutter was standing there in the hall.
What'd he look like?
He looked like Sutter. He looked like he always looked.
Sutter come find his way from Big Sandy to Little Sandy. How you gonna find his way all the way up here to Pittsburgh? Sutter ain't never even heard of Pittsburgh.
Let Bernice finish. I want to hear what you got to say.
Just standing there with a blue suit on.
The man never left Marlin County when he was living. He gonna come all the way up here now that he's dead.
Go on, Bernice.
Tell you this, if Bernice seen him like she thinks she seen him, she still be running.
Go on, Bernice. Don't baby boy Willie no mind.
I wonder about you, Samuel, because I admire your career so much. You've done so many great films. You've worked with the late, great James Earl Jones and Roundtree and other people. But I wonder if you being like an only child had anything to do with your imagination and being able to embody these characters that you've been able to embody over the years.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. That was a certain time of day. I mean, even now, there's a certain time of day where I gotta have 2 hours where I'm by myself. I'm reading, I'm listening to music, or I'm doing something else. Or when I was a kid, I was making up stuff about things I had seen, or in the room fighting things that weren't there. So that by the time green screen came in, and George would say, "All right, you're fighting a so and so in Star Wars." And I go, "How big is it?" And he'd tell me, "How fast is it?" "Okay, let's go." And I was there. Yeah. And other actors would be like, "I hate green screen. I need it." I was like, "What the hell's wrong with you? The world is just a whole imaginary world here. Let's go. How many? Can I have them?" Yeah. And George said, "Look, the more you do, the more I have to draw." It's like, yes. So I'm down. So being an only child is service to me that way well. And I'm insular in a lot of ways, which allows me to learn shit too.
Yeah.
When it's time to learn some lines, you got to be by yourself and block stuff out and be able to do it. But yeah.
Michael, you've worked with a lot of great casts. Everybody loved you as Brother Muzan and The Wire, and you've done True Detective.
That character will never.
I didn't like that.
Everybody except Sam.
Stringer didn't like it either.
No, he did.
But I mean, working with this cast, I mean, you got Samuel next to you, and then you had Deadwyler and JD. Like, how was it working with this cast of young great actors? That's kind of like
tall grass. You're working with stallions.
That's such a thing as a young great actor.
I don't know. Potentially great young actor. Potentially great. Yeah.
You got to do more than 4 things to be great.
Yeah. You got to do more than 4.
Well, we've seen greatness from Danielle and from JD.
So hell yeah.
Yeah. They've been stunning. They've been stunning.
There's no question about that.
Yeah. Well, last question. Like just August Wilson's work. I mean, both of you guys have done a lot of work on stage and screen. How has it been to watch Denzel be like the steward of all these great projects and bring them from the stage to the screen for audiences that traditionally haven't been as theater friendly as they were in the past, and get to see all this work on the stage?
Well, they picked the right person.
They did.
I mean, Denzel, has a sterling theater reputation, and not just for August works, but the fact that he's comes back and he goes back out there and does it live so people can come and see him and go, I saw Denzel Washington on stage. Yeah. That was like, and he's that. So he's worthy of taking the best playwright that we have and making sure that the pantheon of his work finds a lasting place. And the gravitas of him brings eyes to what, we're doing. So he's the right person.
I think Malcolm was the right person to debut on this one. It was a great picture. I loved it. Out of the other ones, this has been my favorite of the August Wilsons brought to the screen so far. I thought it did a great job.
Well, it's the most cinematic already.
Certainly.
Yeah, definitely most cinematic.
Definitely the most cinematic. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
You feel that? That's your family. That's your blood.
First, congratulations, debut film. I mean, that's such a big deal and an accomplishment for you to have done that. I know after your studies at AFI and all that. Screening it with your family there and everything else last night, like how was that feeling just to see the energy and the support from everybody?
We did a really wild thing. Not last night, but we made this movie and I asked the cast to come watch the movie together for the first time, which is really scary because as you can imagine, if you act in something, you there's a certain amount of submission you have to give yourself to the movie and trust the people that you make it with. And most actors reasonably want to experience a film by themselves for the first time in the safety of the, to know to see what they've done for them by themselves and what's done to their performance. But we did something wild, which was have everybody come together and see it together for the first time as a community, which is the spirit in which we made the film. And luckily, most of them everybody that was available did come. You came and
it was a great
experienced
time.
it together.
I wish you could have been there. The energy in the room was like,
electric.
Yeah.
And everybody watched the movie. This thing that we've done together, it was like, here it is. Like, let's all enjoy it now. And that was a really beautiful moment.
Ray, I want to take you back to Be More. You was working at the theater at Cinemark or whatever. I want to know, working in that theater, I know you're working and sneaking into movies. Like, which movies?
How'd you know I snuck in the movies? Who told you that?
I'm a reporter. I get info.
You got the low. Okay.
Which performances do you think kind of pushed you a little bit more? I know you was in theater, had a professor got you into that, but was there any things that you saw on the screen that said, this is really what I want to do?
Honestly, everything. Working in a movie theater for me as a high schooler was pivotal. I didn't really know much about the technique and the craft. I had some friends that were into cinema at the time, and they would put me in some of their shorter films that they were making for some of the community colleges and things. But I was a big action fan, man. Anything Wesley Snipes. Around that time, I think this was around the time Blade Trinity had come out, right? And so any and everything that came through the movies from 2000 and probably 4 through 2007, I was just there. I was locked in. It didn't matter what it was. I'm watching animated kids films. I'm watching Academy Award-winning films. I just wanted to be there. I just wanted to be in that moment. And I think I knew. Even at that point, I was like, this is something I want to be involved in. I'm not sure in what capacity just yet, but it just pulls you in,
Yeah.
Look here, Lyman. You see all them carvings on it? See, that's what I was talking about. You see how it's all carved up real nice and polished and everything? Never find you another piano like that.
Yeah, that look real nice.
I told you. Get you a nice price for that piano.
That's all I really talked about the whole trip up here. I got tired of him talking about the piano.
Hey, Doka, Sutter's brother selling the land. Say he want to sell it to me. That's why I come up here. Now, I got one part. I sell them watermelons, I get me another part. Then I get Berniece to sell that piano, and I had a third part.
Berniece ain't gonna sell that piano.
I'm gonna talk to her. When she see I got a chance to get Sutter's land, she'll come around.
You can get that thought out your mind. Berniece ain't gonna sell that piano.
So much talent in that household that y'all could just shoot movies at the house. But when you have, Olivia and JD and Katia and everybody else and Pauletta all in the house, can you do your own table reads with your work that you just have Academy Award winning table reads going on at the house?
You know, I'm so grateful to not only my family, but to come from just a community of artists and a community of talented people that revere the arts, that value it and instill that kind of artistic practice in all of us. And it's something that has carried over in how we live our lives. Like now, we made this film and forged a new family and made a community out of it. You know, I didn't know Ray before we started working on this project, but he's my brother now, you know, and so is Danielle Deadwyler and Corey Hawkins. And we really are a community, and that was built out of the foundation that I come from, but also the tradition and practice of so many great Black artists that came before us, and they coming through Broadway in the 70s and 80s, you know, and breaking into Hollywood in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. So there's a strong lineage that we're tying into now, and I'm grateful to have built out a community for ourselves that we honor.
In this pantheon of August Wilson's products, I mean, Fences was great, and Ma Rainey's was great, but this felt like the most cinematic, and I feel like the biggest thing for me was Sutter's Ghost. You know, I want to know, as a collective Black community, as we deal with the vestiges of slavery and everything else, how do we exercise Sutter's Ghost as a community?
I think the film points as a great example. It's in confrontation. It's an acknowledgement of your past, acknowledgement of those that came before you. Because to free yourself, to get into the future, you have to free yourself of the past in a lot of ways. You have to unburden yourself of some traumas, and you have to engage in the joy that's been passed down, engaged in the strength that's been passed down, and put yourself in a larger context, as in context of those that came before you, so that you can take what they've learned and instill it in you, and then pass it down to keep the line moving forward.
Absolutely, and I think it's a collective sort of fight, right? You look at this piece, it's not boy Willie that takes Sutter down. It's not Berniece that takes Sutter down. It's them together.
Mm-hmm.
They have to come together in order to be able to do this and to be able to deal with the issues of the past. And the same with Doker and Whining Boy, right? The family has converged, all of them, in this place, in this specific moment. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. It was a beautiful thing to film and to be a part of. And I think that's how we as a people have to do it. We have to do it together. There's no other way.
Yeah. Great film, man. I really loved it, man. I can't wait to see all the projects you got coming up next, and can't wait to see you on the screen. And I hope they give you the right size shoes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
I need that BlackTree TV. I need that BlackTree TV. I need that BlackTree TV. BlackTree TV.